you have to show them why it matters. Why should they care about war being racist, or war being costly, or war leading to independence? So you make your argument, you show your evidence, and then you give your impacts. Impacts are what really win the debate. If you have a good impact and you have the evidence to support it, you will win the debate over your opponent. So what we just did was weighing the pros and cons. The more official term for them, if you guys flip to the next page, would be affirmative and negative. That's how it's referred to in high school debate and in college debate and even in political debates. So the affirmative would be the pro, where it affirms the topic, it discusses the benefits of the subject and the advantages. It's basically in favor of it. Now the negative is also known as the con. It negates the topic, it discusses the harms, cons of the subject, the disadvantages, and you're basically saying that the resolution is unfavorable. Are we good so far? Do we have any questions on pro and con? Do we have any questions on framework? Do we have any questions on basically anything that was discussed, like the impacts? Do we know the difference between an argument and an impact? I'm here to answer questions. Anything? You're good? Everyone's good? Yeah. Okay. So I just talked to you guys about what an argument is, but to give you guys a more formal definition, it is a reason given for or against a matter under discussion. It's a series of reasons, statements, or facts intended to support or establish a point of view. A rebuttal, which we haven't really talked about as much, is the speech act refuting by offering a contrary contention or argument. So if this side were to make an argument, this side would be responsible for taking note of the argument, addressing what they're saying, but poking holes in it by finding alternative evidence and alternative impacts. So if someone here were to say that war is financially beneficial because it increases the amount of money that our country would get, someone on this side could say in their rebuttal, no, that's wrong because... Not always, but it's honestly situational. You have to look at it, look at the evidence. Sometimes war has benefited us financially, like the American War, which we just talked about. We got our freedom, so we got our freedom to trade, and we could be independent as a country financially, and we're open on the market. But there's other wars, such as the Iraq War, where we lost money because we were just spending it on soldiers and weapons, but we weren't really getting much in terms of the return. So it's honestly a situational basis. You can't just say in general, war has cost us money or war has earned us money, because not every war is the same.
Not always favorable, but not always unfavorable.
Right. And that's what makes debate so fun. There's no general yes or no to every single question. There's always this gray area. So we're going to look at the gray areas. Crossfire is what y'all have been doing. It happens in every single debate 2 or 3 times. It's open discussion. So I'll be up giving a speech, and then my opponent will give a speech, and then we'll have a crossfire. At this point, you can talk to each other and do whatever you want. You can ask each other questions, you can make them incriminate themselves, and get more evidence to support your topic. Okay, we're going to talk about what a good debate is. The arguments and rebuttals are logical. That means that they follow a good train of thought. You draw a good conclusion with a good line of reasoning. Factual, which means that it's true. You can't just make up evidence. Accurate, clear, and there's relevant information. So in the context of war, we go back to the beginning of time because that's when war started. And with war, you can't really look into the future, so you have to go into the past. But there's a specific time frame of relevant information. So what do you guys think? If I gave you guys an article from 2002 or 2017, which one would be more relevant to the topic?
17.
Yeah. We need to stay up to date because times change and things change and people change. So it's really important to stay up to the status quo. The status quo, does everyone know what that means? It's used very commonly in debate. It's just a time frame reference. Yeah? Okay. Okay. Basic tips, be respectful of your opponent. It's important to listen to them because one thing you're also being judged on when you're in a debate is not just how you make the argument, but how you respond to your opponent. If you're rude, or you don't listen to them, or you're talking over them, that could deduct you some points. And points are really important for whether or not you want to win the tournament. Sometimes there's an argumental side of debate, but there's also how you present yourself. You need to be a good public speaker. You need to take notes on your opponent's speech. I'm going to teach you guys something called flowing next week, but the speech I just gave you guys as an example, in order to refute my speech, you need to take notes on it and be able to go line by line and refute every single argument I've made. So flowing is how you would do that. And it's very complicated, but I'm going to break it down for you guys, and we're going to do it in a very simple manner. You need to be ready for your audience, the judge. You need to basically read everyone and see what do you think that they like. You kind of need to custom tailor your speech for the judge. If it's a young person, you can talk fast, you can make all these progressive ideas, but if it's an older person, you're going to kind of want to talk slowly. You're going to want to be very respectful, make eye contact, and just really tailor who you are and who you act as a persona for your judge. You're going to pick an interesting topic because it's important to be passionate about what you're talking about. If we were just talking about things you guys didn't care about, it'd be a lot harder to research. And also know how to argue both sides, not just yours. Sometimes you're going to have one leaning favor over another, but you need to argue both sides because you can't choose necessarily which one you're going to argue. And you need to be prepared to address your opponent's arguments and rebuttals. Okay, so I just gave you guys the brief presentation about what a debate consists of. We're going to kind of do some examples, and I gave you guys a worksheet with more simple informal topics, but I kind of see from all of y'all's responses that we want to talk about something more politically or globally related. So let's do like the first 5 problems on the worksheet and look at the pros and cons. We're just going to practice making arguments on both sides.